Hi guys, we're at Airless Discounter again. My name is Darren, I'm joined by Stefan, and today we're going to look at what spare parts do you need when you're on the construction site. So Stefan, if I'm a painter working on my own, if it's a small project, maybe spraying an apartment, I've been told that I need to have some extra tips and filters, but which ones in particular?
You should have some basics there just to avoid downtime. If you don't have filters, tips there, you might experience that the filter is clogged. You can't clean it, and then you have to stop work because you don't have a replacement there. So these things like a tip, a filter, they are not too expensive, and it will spare you the situation that you are standing there and you have to stop your work. I think if you are working on your own on smaller projects, you don't have so much pressure, so you should keep it to the basics. The basics, to my opinion, are definitely filters. For example, here we have a Graco 795, and I would recommend that you have definitely some manifold filters. For example, for the filter housing here, as a spare, and as well some gun filters. Which you will need as well. You can also think about an inlet filter that is placed here, but the most important are the gun filters and the manifold, the main filter. Also important, you will need piston oil for that sprayer to lube the piston. You should always have enough there, otherwise there might be a damage to the pump. And of course tips. If your tip is worn out, it's nice to have a replacement, because otherwise you have to stop working.
Okay. Now, if I'm a contractor working on larger projects and I might have some time pressures, perhaps I need to get the contract done by a certain time, or I might get penalized, I'm not so sure that this might be enough if something more significant goes wrong. So what else might I want to keep with me while working?
Yeah, of course, that's a situation which is much more risky, because if you have to pay penalties, for example, if you have a job on a restaurant, on a cinema, on a supermarket, then you want to make sure and you want to minimize the risk, and therefore it makes sense maybe to have a few more parts in stock or stored with the sprayer, so that you can act really fast and get your sprayer running again. That would be, for example, on that unit, some seals, especially, for example, here you have the filter housing, and sometimes it can happen that paint strips here when an O-ring which sits in the top of the filter housing is damaged. There's another O-ring, for example, here in the inlet valve housing on the top, and if that sealing is damaged, also you will have a paint leak, and therefore you need to replace it. It's not very expensive, and it will probably spare you a lot of trouble. If you want to do even more, you have, for example, the possibility to also store valves like the inlet valve or the return valve, or some of our customers even have a separate lower pump system, so they can completely take off the pump and replace it in case there's a damage.
That's the Pro Connect 2 system for the Pro Contractor models.
Yeah, that model allows a really quick change of the pump. That's a standard version, takes a few minutes more.
Yeah. And we could probably keep a hose on us as well.
It really depends. If you're really small and you just do small housing projects, apartments and all that, you always have a backup. If you just have a 3-room apartment, you can always take a brush and a roller and finish it that way. And probably on these projects you won't be penalized. If it's maybe a bit stressful, but there's a way to finish it. But on these larger business projects, then it might make sense to have a backup there, or even have some of our customers even have a second sprayer for that, just to make sure and to avoid the penalties.
Okay. So there you have it. Those are the spare parts you need when you're on your project. Let us know what spare part you've needed, or if there's a spare part that you keep with you that we haven't mentioned. So leave a comment below and tell us all about it. And if you have any other questions regarding what we've spoken about today, also let us know. Thank you so much for watching and have a great spray.
Thanks. Bye-bye.